Hi, my name's Ed. I'm a longtime Beatles fan and student of the 60s. I just thought I'd say a couple of words about John Lennon. I don't have a whole lot to say. I feel like I don't know him as well as I ought to know. I feel like I need to really start studying him. Studying his solo work. Studying his life. Studying his inspirations. We've seen so many images of him. We've heard so much of his music. We've heard so many of his big hits. He did a lot of work that I'm not familiar with. Same goes for the Beatles. I've owned the two double albums, 62 to 66. I bought these on vinyl. This and the 67 to 70. I bought these in the summer of '83. And I played them to death, gave them to my little sister once I realized the Beatles weren't getting back together. Still kept them in my mind. The kind of thing never leaves you, even once you stop listening to the music regularly. I went to London in 1999. I actually stopped by the Beatles store. There's my photograph of it. You can see it's on Kodak paper. So you can see it's actually a photograph that I own, not something I scanned or took off the internet. And in 2001, I visited Central Park on September 4th, 2001, and stopped by Strawberry Fields. And there's two of my photographs of Strawberry Fields. This is the far out, this shot that's kind of away, and here's the close-up. I put that in my blog a while back. And you can see the watermark, the Kodak mark on that one if you look closely enough. At least you ought to. Let's see. That one's kind of hard to see it on. But you can see the mark, the watermark. There it is. So you can see this is clearly a photograph that I actually owned and took myself. And like all great artists, there's a lot more to know about them than what we've been able to see on television or read in the books. And with what I've come to understand about the Beatles, the connections that I've seen with synchronicity, I sense that I'll never let them go again. That John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney will always be very close to me. I think for the remainder of my life I'll be contemplating their work, thinking about the period that they performed in, the forces that were at work, historic, cultural, political. I'm sure I'll get their entire collection one of these days. Then I'll spend a long time poring over the different tracks and looking at their development and thinking about how I liked them as a kid and as a teenager and as a 20-something, and how at one point we all say, well, they're not getting back together again, so there's plenty of good music out today, so at some point you end up putting it down. You say, okay, well, they were great, but they're in the past. And as with great art and great artists, as you continue to live and you experience life, their work comes back. What they said in their work, what you recall about their work, these things get reinterpreted, reimagined. New generations of fans are born and come to appreciate them. It seems like there's too much that's been said. Even so, I believe that we have much more to hear that we have already heard. And I look forward to being one of those people who will be participating in that discussion. Because my life and the experiences I had and the opportunities that I had as a very fortunate American in the 20th and 21st centuries is a direct result of the cultural movement that they were a central component of. And for that I will always be thankful. Above and beyond the beautiful music they created, John himself much more to know than I have already learned. I can't say a whole heck of a lot more at this time. I feel so deeply connected to him and the Beatles now at this time in my life, more than I ever thought I would, and more than I thought any fan ever should be. That I'm awed by the possibilities. Human experience is far, far more amazing, far more fascinating, and far more complicated than we have been able to understand at this point. There's a lot of work ahead, and a lot of time to spend appreciating the richness, the quality of the work of John Lennon and of the Beatles. So wherever you are out there in the great beyond, John and George, well, this is indeed John's the 70th anniversary of John Lennon's birthday. Wherever you are, I wish you well. And I look forward to getting to know your legacies better as my life progresses. Peace.